Welcome to The Explainer, where today we're diving into the dramatic and frankly untold story behind one of science's most famous awards. It's a moment where incredible genius ran headfirst into a nasty public scandal. Just imagine this. You've just won your second Nobel Prize, something no one in history had ever done before. And this is the letter you get. It's not a congratulations, it's basically a stay away. So yeah, in 1911, Marie Curie found herself in this completely wild situation. Her historic scientific triumph, something she'd worked relentlessly for, was about to be swallowed up by a total PR nightmare. So how on earth did this happen? Well, to get it, you have to understand that there were two completely different stories playing out at the exact same time. The story of her groundbreaking science and the very different, very ugly story the newspapers were dying to tell. And before we get into it, please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on that notification bell. Be sure to share and like our explainers. The information we're using today is compiled from open sources. Thank you. Okay, so let's break this down. In late 1911, you've got these two narratives about Marie Curie, and they are on a collision course. All right, first, let's talk about the science, because this wasn't some minor thing. This prize was for creating an entire new field of science. I mean, she literally invented the field and even came up with the name radioactivity. And you gotta understand, this wasn't some neat and tidy lab experiment. It was what people called a Herculean labor. To get just a tiny speck of pure radium, she had to physically process tons of this stuff, this mineral ore called pitchblende, in a place that was basically just a drafty old shed. And this process she came up with, it's just mind-boggling. This method, called fractional crystallization, involved boiling and separating and refining this material over and over. She had to do this thousands and thousands of times just to prove, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that radium was its own brand new element. But right when this is all happening, here's where the two worlds collide. Just as the Nobel Committee is recognizing this incredible achievement, a really nasty smear campaign about her private life just explodes in the French newspapers. And these attacks were just awful. They were xenophobic. Remember, she was Polish, living in France. They were sexist, and they were brutal. She was a widow, and her relationship with a fellow physicist, Paul Langevin, who was married but separated, was twisted into this huge scandal. They weren't just attacking her character, they were trying to use it to completely discredit her life's work. So as it felt like the whole world was turning on her, and even the Nobel Committee was getting nervous, a little bit of support showed up from another genius who saw all this for the garbage that it was. Albert Einstein had just met her, and he was completely blown away by her mind. So he sat down and wrote her this incredible letter, basically telling her how much he admired her. You know, he told her to ignore the haters, even calling them reptiles. He saw the whole thing for exactly what it was, ugly gossip and professional jealousy. And his letter was this powerful reminder to just focus on the work, on the science, and not the trash the newspapers were printing. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. She's being pressured by the Academy, dragged through the mud by the press. A lot of people were telling her just to lay low. She had a huge choice to make. And you know what? She didn't back down for a second. Her response was just perfect. So clear, so logical, she said, "Hey, the prize is for my discovery of radium and polonium. My private life has absolutely nothing to do with my scientific work." And that was it. She was going to Stockholm. I mean, just look at this timeline. It really shows you how fast everything went down. In just over a month, she goes from the absolute pinnacle of scientific achievement to being the center of a massive public scandal, and then makes this incredibly brave choice to just walk right into the storm. So, her going to Stockholm, this wasn't just about picking up a medal. No. This was a massive act of courage, both personally and professionally, and it was going to cement her legacy forever. So she travels to this cold, snowy Stockholm with her sister and her daughter, Irene. And you can just picture it, right? Her in a simple, dignified black dress, walking up to that podium, maybe a look of sadness, but also just pure, steely determination on her face as all these scientists are applauding her. You know, the Academy was probably sweating, worried this would be some kind of awkward disaster. But instead, what they got was a masterclass in pure dignity. Just by being there, with her quiet strength, she silenced the whole controversy. It was a powerful statement that her work stood on its own,
way above all that noise. And then in her Nobel lecture, wow, she was so clear, so assertive. She made a point to use I have termed radioactive, the hypothesis made by me. She was making it absolutely 100% clear that these discoveries were hers. And at the same time, she also paid this beautiful tribute to her late husband, Pierre. I mean, her just being on that stage was history in the making. As she accepted that Nobel medal, you can just imagine that brilliant, radiant gold. She became so much more. Think about this list of firsts. The first woman to win a Nobel, the first person to win a Nobel twice, the only woman to win in 2 different fields, and the only person, period, to win in multiple sciences. It's just incredible.
Years later, when Einstein was remembering her, he didn't just talk about how brilliant she was. No, he talked about the kind of person she was, the character she showed right here, in this crisis. Her strength, her willpower, her integrity. That's what he said made her truly great. And really, Marie Curie's story leaves us with this big question. She proved that a scandal, as noisy and ugly as it is, eventually fades. But discovering a fundamental truth about how our universe works, that's forever. Her work absolutely changed the world, and her defiance in that cold Stockholm winter made sure that she, and not the scandal, would be what we remember.